Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. We're here for City Council meeting, and it is Monday, April 4th, 2022. We'll start this meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Nordstrom.
Here.
Weifenbach.
Here.
Roberts.
Here.
Stroman.
Here.
Armstrong. Here. Jones.
Here.
Lehman. Here. Solomon.
Here.
Evans. Here. Drew.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is an invocation, and we have Pastor Dale Barcher. Following the invocation is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Friends, it was Henry Ford who once said, and wisely so, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. Wise words, maybe for tonight. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Lord, we are meeting tonight to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow this common council to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of unity between them and our community. Thank you for being our source of protection, and we pray for the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health of our city's administration. And Father, as we sit here tonight in relative calm and safety, we are mindful of the stress our nation and world is now encountering. We pray for the people of Ukraine, their leadership and ours. May peace be on their doorstep. We pray for our friends, family, and neighbors who are suffering from health concerns or financial distress. Lord, bring relief, and may we be quick to thank you when calmer days come our way. We pray all this and so much more in the name of the one who is the same yesterday, today, and forever, the Lord our God. Amen. Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And now the adoption of the agenda. This is a time when council members may adopt the agenda as written or may make certain alterations to it. Would there be a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion to approve by Lehman, second by Roberts. All in favor of approving the adopting the agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item number 1 on the agenda is a presentation on Journey On, and we have Dr. Rich Braunstein at the podium.
Greetings, everyone. Are you going to go first? Yeah, that's right.
Mayor, council members, Fire Chief and I just wanted to jump in really quick and just thank this group for all the things that they've done over this last few months. You know, in 2020, we had a major uptick in calls for service in regards to homelessness and mental health issues and substance use. And through experience, the Fire Chief and I knew that, you know, we didn't always have to have a uniformed police officer or EMT at some of these calls for service. But we didn't know who would help us and who would help work through some of those issues with us. Well, since mid-December of last year, Journey On has stepped up and answered the call. And since that time, they've handled over 1,200 calls for service that would have normally went to a police officer or an EMT. And we know they've handled at least 450 proactive type of incidences where they've reached out to community members and potentially quelled calls for service from occurring. And I just got to remind you real quick, we had some super wicked cold snaps over these last few months, and Journey On was out there in the negative degree weather, out there in the dark, and at times I'm told volunteering time. I think Rich had to tell some folks to go home after 24 hours at one point, and I'm sure he might mention that, but I just have to real quick also mention how I believe Journey On is providing services that, you know, a police officer wouldn't be providing. For example, if we take somebody to detox, that's where our interaction ends. Whereas Journey On is conducting the follow-up and the aftercare and making sure that folks are getting connected with service providers. So real briefly, just wanted to put in a quick plug and a thank you. Do you want to add anything? Okay. Rich, do you want to take it over?
No. Presentation's right there.
No, go for it.
Well, I'd like to thank you all for inviting us here tonight. As you can see, the team, often called the Green Genies, is here appropriately dressed in green. We have taken a couple hours out of service tonight for this important discussion about what we've been up to for the past 4 months, right? Roughly 4 months. I'm going to make a quick presentation that some of the leaders of Journey On helped me put together. So I'm just the voice of this presentation. All of the work that is done and the credit for that work is properly placed here among the team members proudly dressed in green, the Green Genies. So what I'm going to present to you all tonight is just an account of their work. I need to make that really clear, right? This is just an accounting of the work they have done. I'll start off tonight by talking a little about the services we provide. We provide dispatched and proactive responses to the unsheltered community. Our work comes from multiple avenues. First, from Pennington County Communication, where we're directly dispatched on the types of calls that Chief Hedrick talked about that would ordinarily have gone to RCPD. Another pathway for our calls includes a direct access line to Journey On phone line, which we'll be promoting more in the community in the coming weeks through the business toolkit. That's been a collaboration of the co-responder program. Journey On is part of the co-responder program. It is one of many efforts within that program. And so our dispatch line is another source of calls. A third way that we are engaged in the community is through the proactive outreach of the team. Just today I was filling in a little bit, and we had, 3 back-to-back calls that were all active outreach. There were individuals who had passed out, individuals who couldn't stand up and walk and needed our assistance, people who are hungry, people who are vulnerable, and all that work that we just did, my partner Victoria and I just did as the basis of proactive outreach, right? Being out there in the community, identifying people where they're at, and providing human-to-human care and concern. The hours of operation, I thought I would put in this so that you all understood where we're at and to what extent we're out, right? So we have a Monday through Friday daytime coverage of 3 teams consisting of 5 individuals. Again, the 5 individuals among the many you see here tonight consist of 3 teams and 3 different vehicles. 2 of those teams, Team 1 and Team 2, are directly responsible for county dispatch communications, and they also handle the Journey On phone line. The third team, the team of 1, Crystal Rencounter, is doing support work, ongoing case management, more in-depth work with our partners at VOA and elsewhere. And so she's not doing the direct dispatch, but she carries a lot of weight on Team 3. Team 4 is a swing shift between the day shift and the night shift. We find that this is a very busy time for us, and so we have 2 team members that work just 4:30 to 7:30 to relieve some of the workload on the evening team, which again, Monday through Friday runs from, that should say 4:30 p.m. I apologize for my typo, 4:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Then we also run 1 team from 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. on Saturdays. So we're out 6 days a week. We have from time to time, at the request of Captain Olson and others, shown up on Sundays as well. Where there's a demand, we try to say yes. We are a bunch of yes men and women trying to answer the call here in the good city of Rapid. Our total calls for service that we've engaged, this is according to Mark Eisenbraun's analysis of dispatch records at the end of March, include 1,857 dispatch calls. Sorry, Chief, it's not 1,200. It's 1,857. That began on December 14th when we took our first call through Pennington County Dispatch, up through our last call on the 31st of March. So this doesn't include any April statistics at all, right? Moving on, you see on this line chart a story of our progress. What you're seeing in the numeric values in the chart is the percentage of total calls for service that we took, and the police department was responsible for the rest. You all know that prior to Journey On's arrival in Rapid City, the police department would have been responsible for 100% of the calls. We started out with a smaller team in December, handling only 17% of the calls, but you can see, based on the impressive bunch before you tonight, that we have increased that number from 17% when we started to 65% of all calls for service in the last week of March, right? The total average over the entire time period we've been collecting data is 48.3%. We anticipate to have that number, the average number, to be well above 50% by the end of April, because we're handling about 65% of all calls for service at this point with this team. The types of interactions we have general contacts that don't require much more than a relationship building opportunity between us and the relatives on the street. Those are called general contacts. Those are contacts where we're meeting, getting to know each other, sharing water, sharing stories, introducing each other. We keep a record of every interaction with every individual we come in contact with. Those general contacts respect the base level of our relationship building effort. High-level contacts require some degree of intervention by Journey On, whether it's taking a relative to or from Monument Health, like we did tonight, whether it's taking a domestic violence survivor to Wavy, bringing a relative to Safe Bed for some shelter for an evening, right? These are high-level contacts. The other one is Journey On phone line statistics, which we're trying to carve out as its own area of emphasis, because it is our goal at some point to take the communications dispatch out of the game, right? We hope within the next months to be the direct recipient of calls from the business community, from service providers, and the rest. We've tried to talk with Mobile Medic about calling us directly. Today we talked to the Parks Department about calling us directly. We do want to be a direct responder and to kind of remove the cost of maintaining dispatch responses and fire medic, the mobile medic program, and RCPD. As our team grows, you know, it is our aspiration to handle all calls and directly through Journey On. This is our vision, and so we only have started to track data on that since March. I thought you might be interested to know a little bit about where our calls originated, so I pulled together a table of our most frequent point of initiation, right? And so you can see that the Hope Center downtown was our #1 frequent point of initiation for interactions. Those large numbered interactions also occurred at the Woyaton Church Shelter, Times Square Plaza, the library, the Imperial Restaurant that shut down, not the one, I think that they operate one still, but there's one that shut down. That's where we were tonight. The Mission, the band shell, the list goes on, right? You have this data available to you. I shared it with council, so you can look at this more in depth to see where our high order incidents begin. But ultimately, the largest number, and there's about 600 unique locations with single instance points of initiation. These are the list of where we've had 3 or more calls in the month of March alone, right? So this is just March statistics. I thought you might also be interested to know where we're taking folks to, so where we're transporting to. The Woyaton Church Shelter, the emergency shelter that popped up, I guess, the first days of January during that terrible cold snap, has been our primary point of destination once called into service. The Care Campus, the Hope Center, Volunteers of America, Monument Health, these make up the high-frequency destinations for the Journey On team, right? I do want to mention the 24/7 program just for a minute, because I believe it represents another example of how Journey On is supporting the community to try to assist compliance. The 3 calls that I'm aware of, and my team could correct me if I'm wrong about this, these are not homeless individuals. These are people without transportation that, save for being able to call Journey On, may not have made that. The result would have been an additional incarceration, an additional loss of work time, family time, and the rest. We are committed to providing these services to the community beyond narrowly understanding the challenges of houselessness in the city. With that, I wanted to let you know that we have some plans. I briefly mentioned some of those plans already to kind of put dispatch and RCPD out of business, which is a great aspiration, I think. I say it jokingly, but we're darn serious about it. Our immediate growth plans between, let's say, April 15th and June 1st include adding a director of operations, a person at the director's level that's going to help coordinate team operations on the ground here in Rapid City. We've just been given a grant from RCPD to allow that to happen. We're waiting for that money to come in, so we anticipate that to be the case by April 15th. We also have been asked by the business community in Rapid City to add another team. So you saw the team distribution, right? We have 5 teams currently on the board. We're going to add, we hope to add another dedicated team to the downtown triangle of Legacy Park, the bike path, and Main Street Square, again, between now and June 1st. Right? And so we're in negotiations for supplemental funding from the business community. There's a lot of interest, a lot of passion and recognition of the work our team is doing, so we believe that we can get that done. As we continue to grow the community's awareness and reliance on the direct Journey On phone line, which, by the way, is 605-519-1066, we anticipate adding dedicated operators, because right now, the Journey On team, when they're out doing their dispatch response, is also answering the phone, which is a tremendous amount of work. These guys, they come to work at 8:30 in the morning, and they literally do not stop until their shift ends. Oftentimes, their shift ends after their shift is over, and as Chief told before, they're a difficult bunch to restrain, to keep in the boundary lines of set hours. I can't even count or even pretend to account for the hours that this team has contributed off the clock. But, you know, to ask them to do that work and answer the phone is becoming a bottleneck of sorts. And so we need to grow our team in that capacity also. Another what's next item that I think is of particular importance to this council is an impact statement, a financial impact statement for the work that we've done. And so I have tried to cobble together some preliminary estimates for your review. I am open, as the outreach director, to challenges of this model. Ultimately, this is a model that we need to develop and refine and then agree upon over the next several months, so we can have an accurate way to track the accountability of the public resources that you all have dedicated in our contract. We estimate that an average cost per call for RCPD is $130. That includes everything from the personnel costs, the hourly costs, the benefits, the vehicle maintenance, the training, the support, all of the elements that go into a response from a police officer. We estimate that to be $130 per call. The police department would have handled 1,740 calls if we had not taken those direct dispatches. There is another 408 anticipated calls that Journey On, in a sense, and the chief alluded to this, you know, kind of took off the table through our proactive outreach. That's calculated at 40% of our total outreach load, for a total of 2,148 calls for service in the first quarter of 2022. That's January 1 to March 31. That sums to a total of $279,240 in cost savings, or would have been expended by RCPD. The fire department, we understand from our friends at the fire department that an ambulance call costs, a single call costs $900. We were told by Mobile Medic that there was a Sunday when we weren't present that they had to take 12 ambulance trips on that day that Journey On wasn't available. Rather than using 12 per day as our baseline number, I estimated it to be 2.5 per day over 77 days of the first quarter. that amounts to $173,250. You add those two numbers up together, you get $452,490, and you compare that or subtract that against the $36,000 that we have received as part of our public contract as a part of the co-responder unit. It amounts to a savings of $416,490 in the first quarter of 2022. Again, this is a preliminary formula that is in development. I encourage feedback on it, but one thing I need to leave the council with is an understanding that these numbers do not include the estimates of the benefits or savings realized by the Pennington County Sheriff's Office, the Rapid City Parks Department, Monument Health, Oyate Health Center, the business community, and other other locations that also benefit from the presence of Journey On in response. These are just estimates. This $416,000, just estimates of RCPD and RCFD. That concludes my presentation, and I'm sure that the team and I would be happy to take any of your questions if you have any.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. We'll go to Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Dr. Brownstein, is that correct?
Just Rich.
Oh, Rich. Okay. Well, Rich, thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the greatest teachers of all time taught us that we will always have the poor and the needy with us, and that we should never turn away but try to find ways to help them. And so this council has been trying I've been on for almost 2 years, and we've been trying to do exactly that and trying to find the right way and the right group and the right cost and the right everything. We know the pressure it's put on our police and fire and other agencies. And I've been so looking forward to this presentation tonight to hear what you folks have been doing and how you've been doing it and the impact it's had on us. Green Genies, love it. And you are, I mean, you're working magic in our community. And to just say thank you seems not enough. What you're doing, how you're doing it, and the way you're doing it, and those that you're serving are people who are maybe at their worst point of their life, the toughest time of their life, and they need help, whether you interact with them once. I would assume there's probably people you interact with often, repeat customers, so to speak, and all points in between. People have sat out in those chairs right there and accused this council of not caring about those people in need in our community. Race aside, not caring about the poor, not caring about the people in need. And I can tell you that this group up here cares greatly about the people in need in our community. And I just can't say how thrilled I am that you are here, that you folks are here tonight, and you're doing what you're doing. You're saving lives. You're making a difference. Your interaction, be it 60 seconds or 60 hours with someone that you're serving, could change their life. And then they could impact others. And the cycle becomes tremendous. We all know about the cycle of violence and the cycle of depression and the cycle of poverty, where it takes people. It takes efforts like yours to make that difference and to stop that cycle from happening. And it moves me so much to know that this is going on. And I challenge all the do-gooders and the people who like to talk and say, well, we need to help people, to step forward and go for a ride with the Green Genies and see what it's like. Because until you've been there, until you've done it, you really don't get the right to say a whole lot. I thank you. I respect you. I will pray for you. And I count on the city's continued support for what you're doing. I was hoping that our chiefs, plural, would get up and say what they said. I've been hoping that this would be the result, because we needed the right group and we needed the right people. You can't just, I have a question about the training and everything that you folks go through. You can't just send anybody out to do what you're doing. It has to be the right people with the right brain and the right heart to do it. And obviously this is the right group. In my minute and 26 seconds left, Rich, could you comment a little bit about the training that these folks go through before they hit the street?
Lived experience, sir. They've been dealing with this, if I'm not mistaken, their whole lives. Yeah, we provided a little bit about how to communicate with dispatch, and I don't know how not to drive a van like I do. But the rest just comes from them. It comes from their lived experience, sir. Did I miss anything?
Well, few things in life are better
Heart.
teachers than reality, that's for sure.
A heart. I mean, you can't teach heart, right? Crystal just said heart.
You can't. You can't teach that. It has to be innate.
Yeah, we
to
do
the person.
we do get some support from, we've gotten some support from RCPD, and we continue to look forward to a CIT training, a critical incident training in the month of May, where we will participate in a full week's worth of training along with other community members. We're going to the city of Newark to learn how our sister program, our mother program, the Newark Community Street Team operates. So we do get training, but that is filling in for the core value of lived experience and heart.
Well, thank you. God bless you all for what you're doing. Stay safe. Keep up the good work. We appreciate you. Thank you, Mayor.
Jason Solomon.
Thank you. Thanks for those kind words, Pat. I greatly appreciate the information that you shared. I will echo, as I'm sure many will, outstanding job to each one of you. You definitely live your life with purpose, and it's pretty cool to see. And the data that was presented here today, one of the things when we approved this was, I said, how are we going to measure success? That was one of my big things. I appreciated you providing some actual data for us to look at. I think that's pretty important. I do have a few questions for you, if you're ready.
Yes.
For one, Pat Councilman Evans, Jones, whatever your name is.
Nice
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the council.
I'm glad to know I'm not alone.
I don't know what my excuse is, but
Move on, sir.
they were
Carry
both
on.
outstanding educators. How about that? No, getting back to the training question, I do think it's an important question how you handle emergency situations or threatening situations. Clearly, you get a call come in. How do you triage that response?
I'm going to leave it up to the team to answer that one. Step up.
And just a brief.
Here, come to the microphone.
Go to the microphone.
Hi, I'm Crystal Rencounter. When we first get a call, whether it's from dispatch or Journey On or another business or something, first we ask as many questions as we possibly can about details of the situation, if they know the person's name or if the person is responsive. Well, as soon as we get there, as we're going, because we're driving and going, our partner's on the phone and we're getting to that situation. But we get there and we assess it to make sure that they don't need any further medical help, and if they do, we call Mobile Medic and they will be able to assist us. We sit there with them just in case we are able to provide the ride or whatever else assistance we can get to help them with. But we make sure to assess the situation fully before we take action, not only for the relatives' safety, but for our own, because we don't want to put them in a bad situation and get them hurt more than they already are, or any other situation. We make sure to talk to them for a little while. If they are able to speak to us, we get to know them. We form a relationship with them. We form trust. We make sure that they understand what our mission out here is, and then we move forward in that way. But if it is an emergency situation or, like you said, a dangerous situation, most of us have lived this experience. We've been out on these streets. We've lived out there. We've dealt with violence our whole entire lives. We've dealt with all kinds of stuff that it almost prepared us for this moment. All of our struggles, our whole entire life, right now, I can probably speak for my whole entire team when I say that we don't have any regrets, because without those struggles, we wouldn't be able to have the strength that we have today.
Okay. While you're here, so is the response, if you do have one of those situations, is the response from the time you get there to when the police or emergency responders arrive, has that been pretty quick? Because sometimes minutes matter, and I
Minutes
do wonder.
do matter. And with our experience, I feel like they have gotten there very quickly. If I can't get a hold of somebody direct line, I will call dispatch right. We will. All of us will call dispatch right away and let dispatch know we need assistance, whether it's police department or the fire department, mobile medic, whatever it is. I was even in the middle of traffic and a car lit on fire, and I said, I need a cop, and I was on the phone with the cop, and he was like, call 911. So we definitely do our best to get to the right person right away.
Okay.
And get them immediate assistance if needed.
Very cool. One observation is, obviously, this program is a success, and I don't know who would respond to this, but are are you creating more demand for the services, and how do you distinguish between that demand and those calls that would be a police or fire response? Because I imagine are all those calls, all of them calls they would have gotten, or is the service that you're providing filling in the transportation gap and those sorts of things?
We're definitely filling in the gap, but as our, I guess, presence has become more well-known, we've been asked to do things outside of our mission, and we are run like a traditional nonprofit that is mission-serving, and thanks to the council, in part, budget relieving, right? These are our marching orders as a nonprofit, and so in occasion, we have to say no. We have to say this falls outside of our mission, and we do say no. It has been a difficult time. Ed, who's our night guy down there, he has pushed me relentlessly on the question of, are we an Uber? Are we a U-Haul? Are we a, because the community has asked us to do much more. And I brought this up with 24/7. Some stuff we allow to creep beyond our mission because we think it has great value to the community. But on other cases, it's a judgment call of the team. The team is empowered. They don't have to come through me. They make their own decisions about saying yes and no. Mindful that we run from the beginning of our shifts to the end of our shifts, and if we say yes to everything, we're not going to be there for mobile medic and RCPD. We're not going to be there for the relatives that really need us, who are the most vulnerable. And so, yeah, there's been demand beyond the scope of our mission, and yeah, we push back.
If I would just encourage you, when it's time for us to renew this agreement, make sure that we have accurate data with regards to calls that would go to the police or fire versus the other services you might provide. And my time's up, but I just did want to give also just a shout out also on Lance Lehman's fingerprints are on this as well. He's done a great job, helped steering us and bringing this together. I do want to give him a lot of credit for the work that he's done on this as well. So my time's up. I'll let others chime in.
And while we're at crediting Councilman Lehman, which is well-deserved, by the way, he was there at the very beginning of Journey On's origin story. Jamie Kirsch is over here as well. So Jamie Kirsch, Lance, and I struggled to find the concept, struggled to follow the model, struggled to put it together. Jamie and Lance have carried tremendous amount of water in terms of community relationships, building partnerships, restraining me as I push too hard in certain directions, but really it has been a tremendous circle of family here with Lance, Jamie, and the team and myself working together as a whole unit. So thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate you.
All right, we're going to just go out of turn for a minute, skip over to our police chief, Don Hedrick, who's going to answer the question within the question.
Yes, so as we were standing up this program, we did spend time with Journey On and the team just talking through not only de-escalation practices, but recognizing when a call is beyond their scope. And I think they do a great job working with us hand in hand. You know, if something is dangerous, they're backing out and calling and making sure that police are responding. Same thing if there's an additional health care need, they're backing out and contacting EMTs. So, you know, that was the last thing we wanted to do is set our folks up in, you know, be in a position where they would get hurt or hurt somebody else. And I know that's part of their mission is to protect that as well. So we have done that in the past as Journey On stood up, and as the doc mentioned, we also are gearing up for a crisis intervention training that Journey On is going to be a part of, and I think that's going to be very helpful.
And if I could just add to that one split second, there's also a guy sitting over there, although I don't necessarily recognize him with those glasses. Is that Tim Doyle over there? Tim Doyle has been a phone call away as we have come across weapons in the field, as we have come across all kinds of situations, and it's like the team calls me, and I'm like, and I call him. And so in addition to the formal training that we have gotten, thank you for adding that, we also have informal guidance from RCPD. Ryan Marks, where's Ryan? Ryan has done the same. Ryan has done the same. He's helped us with our paperwork model as we move from paper records to digital records. I mean, we have picked these guys' brains. We are truly, in this respect, a co-responder unit that doesn't do this stuff alone.
Okay, Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. Is that on? Oh, there we go. Yeah, what can we say but thank you very much. This is so meaningful to our community. But you can see that when we started this, looking at different solutions, we are already helping to fund the Hope Center, the Mission, the One Heart, the Crisis Care Center. We got a mental health facility coming on board. You know, some of us up here felt a little reluctant to put another program in place. You know, how is this going to help? How is this going to work? How are we going to track everything? Well, thank you, you did. But we were reluctant. It wasn't just a big sell for us on this whole thing because we tried so many things before. And I have to say that this is really remarkable. I worry about you guys with burnout. I hope that you have some kind of plans for that. And, you know, even though you give us this wonderful thing about how we're saving money and time on all of our, you know, our ER systems and things like that, you're saving lives. You know, it's just that simple. And the life component of this can't be left out. So I thank you once again. My remarks will be brief because most people talked about whatever I wanted to ask or talk about training or any of those things. And I know you guys have had that life training that has put you in the position to be able to really work in this field. So thank you very much. I wish we could pay you more. Or anything. I don't even know what the deal is on that. So, but thank you for your work. It's really appreciated.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Rich, thank you very much for this presentation, and I want to also thank the team, the green team. For me, you're amazing folks. Rich, would you do me a favor and repeat your phone number again, please?
Absolutely. It's 605
Yes.
519
Yes.
1066. And that is the Journey On phone line, and it's answered from 8:30 in the morning until 10:30 in the evening, Monday through Friday, and 8:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon on Saturdays.
And I think it's important for the public to hear that phone number several times. So don't be shy about presenting that phone number again when you make your next presentation.
The business toolkit, which Tara
Yes.
Wilcox, I don't know if you want to speak to the business toolkit, if you can. So Tara is really the point person with assistance from Jamie Kirsch and others. I don't want to leave anybody out about getting the word out for not only Journey On, but the co-responder program that includes many others. Can you just talk a little bit about your plans? Is that okay if we?
I'm just short on time, but I will be getting a report from Tara on the toolkit in the future. So if it's all right, I'll defer. If it's all right, Tara, we'll defer on that. Yes.
Just a minute.
Okay, hand it out is good. Just because I'm short on time.
The answer to the question about our phone number, though,
Yes.
and the dissemination of our access is the business toolkit that Tara and Jamie and others have worked very hard on.
Great plan.
And I'll just
Could
leave
you
this.
repeat again? Yes. Could you repeat again the number of calls for service that you've made since the genesis of your program?
I believe starting on December 14th, that number is 1,857. And that includes up through March 31st.
I know with the officers that I've had a chance to visit with and the other personnel that has been involved with this, helping it, they don't have to do the response to the non-critical issues. And so what I've been hearing back from them, they're very appreciative of this service. You don't have to answer this if you're not comfortable with this, but one of the things that is on my mind is the glitches in the system yet. Have you got them? You don't have to name them or anything, but have you got them covered or satisfied or removed?
No, it's a growth prospect here,
Yes.
Councilman. We have institutional barriers that we run up against. We continue to run up against. I'm not going to inventory them here, but I
Right.
do hear from my team, this is, in a perfect world, supposed to be a more accessible resource, but it's not. And my hope is that Journey On will continue to advocate for the opening of those resources, for their fair and equitable distribution in the community. The glitches are anywhere in the human services system of Rapid City that hasn't bought into the co-responder program yet, because we know that, like, when I call Tim Doyle, you know, he's working his heart out to give us a solution. He's a system actor, but he's bought into the program, and he does whatever he can. You know, that isn't universal across all human services in Rapid City yet. But we'll keep you up on it.
Yep.
Maybe we'll name names at year 3. But give us some time, sir. Give us some time to earn that trust and earn that equitable response that we're hoping for.
I know Officer Doyle is very passionate about this, as well as you folks are.
He's
And-
not the only one. I mean,
Yes,
Laura
I know.
Scott at VOA, where is she? I call her all the time, man. I'm just surprised she still picks up the phone. I got to tell you, the fact that VOA still takes my calls is a testament to their character and their commitment, but also, I don't know, their tolerance of me. Because when I call, it's usually with a problem. It's usually with a resource gap that I'm demanding to be filled on a Saturday night. And I have called, you know, off hours, and Laura continues to pick up the phone.
Rich, I've got one more last thing to offer up is for you, is that I'm on the National League of Cities committees, and there is another committee that it's called a Human Development Committee. And if I can recruit somebody to go with me on the next committee meeting, I would like to get a report from you folks. This slide presentation would be a good start.
We'll make it happen, sir. We'll make it happen.
So we can present it to the nation, because I think this is an excellent program to bring forward, and we might be able to teach some other cities what can work well for a community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
We'll make it happen. Thank you.
Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to be brief, too. And I just echo what everyone else says. You have our thanks and the thanks of the community. One of the reasons I did want to speak about this was to give a special shout out to Council President Lance Lehman. A few weeks ago we were talking about coming to the end of our first term and some of the things that have happened in the last 3 years or 2.5 years that we've been on council. And I told him that I thought that the Journey On program was one of the most significant betterments of our community and one of the biggest successes. And what you've told us tonight just served to confirm that. So thank you very much.
Ron
Go team.
Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd be amiss if I didn't speak tonight because everybody has spoken, but I wanted to give a shout out to the mayor. He stood behind the program in the very beginning. He took a lot of heat. Lance took a lot of heat, and I think Alderman Armstrong took a lot of heat when they brought this to the table. It was something new. People get scared when you say something new. I also want to shout out to the police department. I know Chief and Fire Chief and Mr. Doyle and Rich, you're one of a kind. I think they broke the mold when they made you. But I'm telling you, when I seen you people come in and there's no words to say what you guys do for the community. You can't put it into words. The community appreciates what you do. I'm sure you get a lot of satisfaction when you help somebody. Each time you go out on a call, you're all nodding your heads. I'm not sure what else to say other than it's a success story. There's people in the community that just talk about things. There's people in the community that want to raise hell about things. And there's people in the community that really get things done. And I think the mayor would attest to that, which I'm assuming he's going to do here. You guys are getting something done, something meaningful, something that really makes the community a better place to live. And to that, I thank you again, and Rich and Steve and Lance and Laura and everybody involved from the very beginning, believing in these people, and you believing in yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weifenbach. Steve, we have a couple more that jumped in queue. Mr. Roberts?
And I definitely am not going to let you speak before me. So I remember when Lance first brought this to me, and I had a little bit of concerns over it too, and I had concerns over you guys' safety. And I find it very interesting, your training couldn't be people that are more trained for the job. And I do know this from a nonprofit that I sit on the board that does something where we have to do outreach too. And one thing that Darla did say is, be careful you don't get burned out, you know, because we need you. You're doing something very important, and it can happen, and it can sneak up on you. And, you know, that's one thing that I think you need to look at, is to make sure that you're not doing too much and you take care of yourselves. So anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Evans?
Thank you, Lance. Mr. Jones down there mentioned something about our 40 years of teaching experience, not combined, that's individual. But we know well enough that in all the groups that we've led over the years, there's always doers and then there's posers. And you guys, you know, some people spend all their time winning, you know, best teacher awards, and then there's the ones that get all the work done. And this is obviously one of the groups that's getting all the work done. And so I'm going to challenge the council myself to maybe figure out ways that we can make you guys as effective in raising of funds as some other nonprofits in this town have been, and I haven't seen any results from those millions of dollars. So I'm just going to say we need to help get behind Lance in this project, and Laura and all the people that have worked on it. Certainly your efforts have not gone unrecognized, and maybe we can help you by getting the budget up. Thank you.
Good to go, Steve.
Well, this is a good council meeting. I think as soon as we're done here, we should all go home, quit while we're ahead. My thanks to Journey On, Rich and the Green Genies, and everyone who supports them. You know, it was about a year or so ago when myself and the police chief and fire chief were trying to figure out how to shed some of these type of calls for service, because, you know, government only knows how to add expense onto things. And so we're at a breaking point where the calls for service were so great. We were having some difficulty spending time on other important tasks, and our staffing level couldn't keep up with the call for service level. And you know, a year and a half ago, we had a major influx of individuals who came here without homes and lived on the streets, and it broke all of our informal systems, and really put us into kind of uncharted territory where we'd never been so far behind in need of so many solutions before. So this idea came up, and I have some names to read off here and some recognition for those who got this all started, but the concept was we were going to have this nonprofit group work for the city, work with the city, to help take some of these nonviolent calls for service. And by the way, I spent a career in these type of calls for service, and I know firsthand that police officers don't solve homelessness. They cannot give the amount of attention to individuals in that moment of need. They have to hurry up and make the transport or perform the task and then get on to the next call. So we were really getting nowhere fast. And so ultimately we came up with an agreement. We brought it here to a city council meeting to agree to have a formal partnership between the city and Journey On. And there were doubters. There were people who came here and testified that this can't work because of Journey On's contractual affiliation with the city. It would poison the whole thing, and the people on the street wouldn't trust Journey On. Well, I guess they didn't count on you. They didn't count on you showing up to work. And they didn't count on whatever magic you have in your hearts to come out there and do the job, not in an authoritarian position, but in a humanitarian position. And so it's been great. And in fact, the results that we've already achieved, I would have hoped to achieve in a year's time. I was prepared to come back here during budget time to urge this council to fund this organization for another year based on probably less than what you've already achieved. So this has blown my mind and my expectations of this whole thing. And I think there's several of us in that group who really didn't expect it to be this successful this quickly. So anyway, thank you all for doing that. I'd like to have the whole team come up here with me. All the green genies, Rich, everyone here with Journey On. Come on up. Stand in here. Jamie, I order you to come up here.
Ryan,
Call them up. Call everybody up who needs to be up.
come on, Ryan. Come on. Let's get it, brother. Let's go. This is a co-responder
program.
Let's just demonstrate that this is a group effort, a team effort, and not just a individual effort. So come on up. Okay, I have a letter of commendation that I want to read, which, Rich, includes some inaccurate data now that you've updated everything. The good news is every time we get a new number, it's always higher, so at least that's good that way. I'm going to read it with the old, which is probably yesterday's. Journey On, a local nonprofit organization focused on homeless street outreach, is directing community response efforts to homeless individuals. In November, the Rapid City Police Department and the City of Rapid City finalized a co-response contract with Journey On to support the homeless population on nonviolent calls for service. Many of these interactions involve transporting homeless individuals to meetings with service partners, medical appointments, safe beds, or meeting with service organizations to work on ongoing care plans with clients. Other interactions consisted of simply making contact for follow-up or mentorship with individuals. Journey On staff members check various areas in the community where houseless individuals are known to congregate. They forge relationships, and through all of these efforts are making a noticeable difference in our community. The street outreach work performed by Journey On consists of working all hours, day and night, and being out in harsh conditions. Their outreach work is engaging and has helped to reduce police and ambulance calls for service. We are proud of what they've accomplished in the short time they have dedicated to participating in the co-response effort in Rapid City. Since December 14th through April 2nd, the staff at Journey On have together responded to a total of 1,701 calls for service. That otherwise, and I get a bad grade for that from the professor. 1,701 calls for service that otherwise would have been answered by a police officer or firefighter. That is over 15 calls for service per day, every day, for the past 111 days. These calls consist of outreach interactions, conducting follow-ups, and delivering human services to vulnerable individuals. The success of Journey On is first credited to a very active board of directors. The front-end work by these directors before there are any boots on the ground has been instrumental in setting the organization up for success and would not have been possible without the work of Jamie Kirsch, Lance Lehman, Tracy Sigdestead, and Rich Bronstein. We would like to recognize their commitment and dedication to addressing homelessness and related issues in our community. We would like to recognize these efforts of the board and all of the employees of Journey On and to promote their work moving forward. Journey On is a wonderful example of what collaboration and coordination of resources can accomplish. The time, effort, patience, and compassion displayed by Journey On is to be commended. Let's have a hand for these guys. Everybody said enough? Have we said enough? We'll take it.
Everybody look here. Couple of shots. 1, 2. Second shot. 1, 2. Final shot. 1, 2. 1, 2.
Okay, everyone, next on the agenda is general public comment. It's a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at this meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. We have one speaker request form tonight. The speakers in general public comment get 3 minutes. And our speaker tonight is Lander Solon.
My name is Lander Solon, and that was awesome, but I do bring somewhat of a more challenging tone to this. I hope you can all hear me in spite of that. Mr. Jones, if you want to really elevate your helping of the downtrodden to the next level, please consider my message well. And Mr. Weifenbach, if people are afraid of new ideas, I'm kind of curious to see what you have to think about my ideas here. So yes, my name is Lander Solon. Rapid City is my hometown. I returned here last year as a refugee from the COVID crime spree, which overtook my 2 previous states of residence. I come before you today bringing an earnest warning against the status quo path our local government is on. In historical communist or fascist regimes, one common symptom is that the needs of the people is not met by the public works, which use the strong arm of government to monopolize both the means of production and the infrastructure that we the people rely on for our livelihood. This same complaint can to some degree be accurately applied to the government of Rapid City. Over the last few years, the Black Hills have been booming because we are one of the last bastions of any personal freedom left in the entire world. I am calling upon each one of you to radically double down on making Rapid City into a freedom sanctuary zone that uses our local level of government to nullify the ongoing tyranny of the illegally co-opted federal government in order to give the people a chance to survive and thrive in these uncertain times. Here are 4 examples that come of things that need to change that come from my personal and professional experience. So 1, the Rapid City Public Library has spent years, apparently ongoingly, discriminating against those who will not bow down to the pseudoscientific COVID symbol of masks. Publicly funded enterprises can by no means discriminate, especially on a medical basis. All administrators responsible for these decisions must face justice, and if they don't change, such criminal institutions must be defunded. Point number 2 of 4. Parks and Recreation is not sufficiently funded to provide enough community gardens for the people. Given the current looming food shortages, this should be a priority. Similarly, all laws which restrict people's ability to grow food, keep animals, and collect water on their own property are a violation of unalienable human rights to sovereignty and life. These laws must be nullified immediately. 3, in the same environment, this city gives our money to developer magnates through tax increment financing. As a former employee of one such prominent recipient who would talk about killing his competition and burying them under Kmart, I can assure you the environment in the industry and in the city office is often that of entitled, monopolistic crony men who have no respect for the laws or the Constitution of the United States. In spite of the TIF spending, look how inadequately our city infrastructure has been able to keep up with the demand for development. Failed strategies won't get us anywhere. We required a new decentralized infrastructure. Also, just look at that violation of United States flag code right on the desk there. Just an example of the disrespect for the laws of this country. 4, moreover, all mandatory enforcement of international building codes must be abandoned. These codes rely on a fragile supply chain system of construction products which hollow out the skill base of the trades and bring a philosophy that undermines the quality of the built environment in favor of the empires of trash that we've seen rise up all across town. Similarly, the people suffer under excessive zoning, licenses, and an overabundance of professional certification guilds which keep our people from lifting themselves up as entrepreneurs and developing skills outside the existing postage stamp-sized paradigm. Most, if not all, certifications and guilds must be demoted from their mandatory status. I was homeless in the streets of Portland due to these discriminatory policies. I've been laid off due to these discriminatory COVID policies. I want all of you to seek after liberty. We, the people, will overcome the New World Order. And if each of you, as our publicly elected officials, do not lead the way, you are in dereliction of duty.
Thank you.
And since the councilmen sometimes take over their time, I'm going to finish my last sentence. I predict that if you do not take action, you will clearly
Okay, that'll conclude our general public comment time. Now on to non-public hearing items, items 2 through 34. There are no speaker requests on these items, so we'll go to consent items 2 through 27. At this point, the council may have a motion to approve all the consent items, or they may pull individuals' items off. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 22, please.
Okay, any other items from council members? Seeing none then, could I have a motion to approve the consent with the exception of 22? Bill Evans makes that motion, and a second by Laura Armstrong. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 22, approve joint powers agreement between the State of South Dakota, the Office of Attorney General, Division of Criminal Investigation, the Pennington County Sheriff's Office, and the City of Rapid City. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I direct a question to our police chief?
Yes.
Actually, Chief, would you mind a brief summary for the council about what this agreement is?
So this is our, every couple of years we renew our agreement with the DCI and the Sheriff's Office and the Police Department in regards to our Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. We have 2 detectives that are a part of that task force, as well as the Sheriff's Department has 2 investigators, and the Division of Criminal Investigation has supervision over the program. Since the early to mid-2000s, we've had this program in place, and the mission of the ICAC task force is to investigate and prosecute those who sexually exploit children through the use of the internet or computers, provide training and equipment to those involved in investigating and prosecuting cases, provide community education regarding the prevention of internet crimes against children. It's a very important program here in our community. We're glad to be a part of it, and we're talking about these detectives going after true monsters in our community. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And I appreciate you calling it for what it is, which are monsters. Obviously, people who prey on children, they need to get caught. They need justice to be served. Looking at the statistics here, in 2019, there were 84 cases of possession, distribution, and manufacturing of child pornography. And in 2021, there are 108. In 2019, there were 15 cases of solicitation of a minor, and in 2021, there are 36. The fact is, these are bad, bad trends. And I've talked about this at committee, but I just think it bears repeating that normalizing the sexualization of children, whether it's on the internet, whether it's preying on children online, the fact is it needs to stop. That we have amazing men and women who are serving in this unit who are going after the bad guys. Those who are preying on children need to get caught. And so I guess with the trends being what they are, Chief, one thing I would ask you, and perhaps this is the conversation with the Sheriff's Department as well, is do we need more detectives? I understand that their caseload is very heavy. In fact, a lot of cases just aren't finished because of the fact that we don't have enough people perhaps working on these types of cases. And we know it's out there. And we want Rapid City to be the most dangerous and scariest place in the country if you're a pedophile preying upon children, because our law enforcement officers are going to come after you. But I want to make sure that we're adequately funded for this. So perhaps something to look at in the next budget, review the information, see what the trends are for 2022, and move forward. So, but my deep and sincere appreciation to those who are working in this area. It's very difficult. I hope that we are doing a good job taking care of them. This is very heavy, very difficult stuff. It's very real, and it is in our community. And it's easy to not see it, but thank God we have people who are going after it. Thank you.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you. Mayor, have you got a motion yet? You got a motion?
No.
If I may make a motion, get a second, retain the floor.
Okay, motion to approve by Nordstrom, second by Roberts. Or sorry, Pat.
Take your pick. Take your pick. Question for Chief Hedrick, please.
Yes.
Chief, this isn't the first time we've done this, is that correct? We've done this before?
No, every 3 to 5 years we renew this contract. It's standard protocol.
Thank you. I just wanted to emphasize that as well. This has been an ongoing project. And Chief, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, is that I've been hearing comments from the community that a lot of dark money is coming into the police department. And coming from from those individuals, I won't mention any names, but if you wanted to comment on that dark money that's coming into the police department, I think it's ludicrous, but anyway, go ahead.
The only money that's coming to the police department is what you've approved. There's no dark money.
Thank you.
You bet.
I appreciate you saying that, and I think the public needs to hear that time and again, that we are the ones that are providing the resources that you need. And so, again, thank you, Chief, for having the staff on board that is able to commit to this task. And I agree with the comment about if you need some more detectives in the near future, let's take a look at this next budget cycle. Thank you.
Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the confusion there in the dark money was the chief was listening to Dark Lady by Cher, and then it all went downhill from there, so we understand. Just stick with ABBA, and you'll do fine. So question, Chief, if I may, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. On the Joint Powers Agreement, as we have it in front of us to look over, why aren't all communities in South Dakota part of this? It appears to be a limited list of cities and counties that are participating in this. I would think all would want to.
Well, that's where the DCI comes into play. They are the state entity. So, you know, we are the major population source for this region. But if there are crimes that are occurring outside of our population center, the Division of Criminal Investigation has the ability to bring that in and have our team investigate it.
You know, we've seen on the news recently how there are arrests always during the Sturgis rally in this exact area, and I'm surprised that the city of Sturgis, at least maybe I didn't see them, nor Meade County, as part of this agreement.
When it comes to those specific events, they do help out with resources, and they are a part of the team when it comes to major events like the Sturgis rally. Law enforcement from that area is part of the joint team when it comes to that.
So these are the major population centers. Should there need to be enforcement investigation, et cetera, and someone who isn't a member, that's where DCI is able to apply their statewide jurisdiction to continue investigations. Would that be a correct assumption?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're satisfied then that this document meets our needs?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 22. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Non-consent items 28 through 34. There are no speaker requests for these items, so we'll start with item 28 under ordinances. First reading, ordinance 6534, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Long Branch Civil Engineering for DOIC LLC for a rezoning request from General Agricultural District to Low Density Residential District for property generally described as being located southwest of the existing terminus of Cobalt Drive. Motion to approve by Drew, second by Lehman. All in favor of approval on item 28, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 29, first reading, ordinance 6535, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Long Branch Civil Engineering for DOIC LLC for a rezoning request from General Agricultural District to Low Density Residential District for property generally described as being located southwest of the existing terminus of Cobalt Drive.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve, Lehman. Second by, was it Solomon? Second by Solomon. All in favor of approval of 29, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Under community development items, item 30, a request by Renner Associates LLC for Bill Freytag for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 6 through 21 of Block 5, lots 4 through 23 of Block 7, lots 1 through 12 of Block 8 of Caitlin's subdivision, generally described as being located north of the current terminus of Country Road West. The recommendation from committees to approve with stipulations. We have a motion to approve with stipulations from Drew, second by Nordstrom. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 31, a request by KTM Design Solutions for Crossing Land Company for preliminary subdivision for proposed lots 3 and 4 of Tract B of Rushmore Center, generally described as being located northwest of the intersection of Luna Avenue and East Anamosa Street. And again, the recommendation is to approve with stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Lehman to approve with stipulations, second by Roberts. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 32, under Legal Finance Committee items. Approve the request by C.R. Lloyd Associates for a determination by the City Council that there are no feasible and prudent alternatives to the proposed project in a historic district located at 525 St. Joseph Street, and that the proposal contains all possible planning to minimize harm to the historic property pursuant to SDCL 1-19A-11.1 and Rapid City Municipal Code 17.54.080. Motion to approve Solomon, second by Roberts. We'll go to Bill Evans.
Okay, this is coming out. Yeah, I'm going to speak once rather than on each one of these four related to this. And everybody here on the dais and everybody out there kind of knows I've been opposed to this all along. And I'm going to tell you the reason why, and then I'm going to be quiet and not take up four, sessions of time. But I believe from the very day we passed this particular agreement, it did not address what that lot should be required to do. I remember talking to you, Mr. Mayor, and I believe to Kyle out there from Lloyd's, and I asked you what would be the relationship to the 6th Street Arts and Entertainment Corridor. And everybody looked like I was asking, a question from outer space. And I said, well, that is the main property on that particular swath of land, and if we don't address it in this project, it's not going to fit the future concept. So I'd like to ask a couple questions. Ms. Fisher, could I ask you, is the 6th Street project still a current plan for the city?
Mayor, are you referencing the promenade?
Yes.
Yes. At this time, there was just a preliminary study done. There's a funding source that would have to come forward. There's been a couple different options that have been laid out. But at this point, the project has not taken that step forward.
Okay, well, it's going to be hard when we do get to that point, knowing that we've approved something that did not require addressing that particular part of the concept for the city plan. So I'm a little concerned about that, because that would have been easy to stipulate in the program that that should be addressed, be it a theater, be it a cabaret, be it a comedy club or something, just so we can include that as part of the concept. Was not included. The other thing that I have been opposed to, and I've seen this be addressed by the Lloyd's people, and by the way, the Lloyd's people are very polite, nice, professional people. They've taken my criticisms very, in the best manner they possibly could, so I appreciate that, because I know that it must be hard to be criticized. I personally think we should have had requirements in our program that this becomes a landmark building in terms of the quality of the design. And I know that in the past, there have been designs rejected that were done by some world-class architects. Now, and I think of what just happened to the 50-year vacant lot in Fargo with their Block 9 thing. They went to Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill, got an absolutely incredible, game-changing design for the city. We didn't require that of our developer. That is disappointing to me, who wants the best for Rapid City and thinks we can always do better, and we should strive for the best. And then the final part of this that I'm opposed to is I don't believe that currently this city is in a position to give any land to anybody when we've got people out there paying $150,000 for a home lot that a few years ago was only, $25,000 or $30,000. Prices have doubled in the last few years, and where we are today is not where we were 4 years ago. And I'd be curious as to whether or not this design would be completed if we required the purchase of the land rather than the transfer of the land, because I don't think that's fair to the citizens of Rapid City. So I'm opposed to that part of it as well. And, maybe, I don't know, since this is such a great, desirable town, maybe the company would be thinking about moving their headquarters here. Maybe that would be great for the town. So I'm not going to talk anymore, but I'm opposed for those reasons. They haven't changed for 3 years. It hasn't been, backed up by hardly anybody. But I think I'm solid in my beliefs here, and I'm going to leave it at that. So you know why I'm voting against it. Nothing personal against Lloyd's. Thank you.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. May I ask a question of the developers? I believe whoever wants to take this question on.
Yes.
This item that's in front of us now has to do with this historic preservation and the oversight the historic preservation did on your project. What is your perspective? Was it a good working opportunity working with the historic folks? What was your sense that you got from the historic preservation group?
Yeah, that process has been very collaborative, and I think we appreciate the feedback that we received. We had a good conversation, a number of opportunities to interact with the committee. Both the committee and our team, as well as city staff, have been very engaged in that discussion, and those are important parts of how you get the best possible project in a location like this. So
I think we should get you to introduce yourself.
Oh,
Jake.
I apologize. Jake Kwasny with Lloyd Companies.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. And then would you be able to talk to us about some of the changes or modifications or suggested alterations that the historic preservation brought forward that you were able to facilitate for this project?
Yeah, I'm going to leave those questions to Luke Jessen with my team, as he was more intricately involved with that process specific.
Luke, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Yes, Luke Justin with Lloyd Companies. So we presented the project several times throughout our design process with the Historic Preservation Commission. We reviewed everything from exterior finishes, the amount of glass on the project, things like that. A few of the comments that came back, were related to the way the parking ramp orients itself and the height of that. We looked at some of the aesthetic pieces, as, like the ramp itself, putting some false facades on there, some false screening, to make it more aesthetically pleasing, looking at cornices, all kinds of things like that. They reviewed and provided great feedback on.
And I do want to thank, let's see, I see Sarah Hansel is the admin person that's been able to handle that historic preservation part of it and all the work that she's put into all of this. And then I want to recognize, looks like we got 3 members of the commission here. If you want to just wave for right now, Jen, Pat, Jeremy, thank you for coming in tonight and listening to this discussion. I think this is a very worthwhile project. I'm looking forward to see it come to fruition. All the arts issues that are being spoken about in the previous conversation, I think you will have plenty of time to make those issues to come to fruition, and it'll give you an opportunity to take a look at some of those needs that we are looking at, because I really believe that you have the capability, wherewithal, and since the opportunity that you gave me to see your structures in Sioux Falls, to take a look at what you have in place, I want to applaud you for the work you've done now in Sioux Falls as well. It looks like a genuine, very serviceable building, and it will look very nice for the downtown area. It will fit in very nicely. And to me, the aesthetics and going along with the historic preservation and everything that has to do with that, I compliment everyone that's been involved with this, including our commissioners that are present, and can't say enough good things about the offering of the suggestions and everything that you brought forward, and the Lloyd company being able to satisfy most of the things, if not all of the things that you folks brought up. Very good to have your talent on board. And as I said in the Legal and Finance Committee meeting, I lean on you guys quite a bit. And I appreciate your input and everything that you did for contributing to this project. Again, thank you very much. I yield.
Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. Could I ask a question of Sarah Hansel, please?
Yes.
Hello, Sarah. As you come to the podium, I'll just start my question because I've seen this pop up already and, Facebook or wherever. Could you please dispel the myth that we actually have a regulation on how high a building can be downtown?
Good evening. I'll do my best to make that as simple as a response as possible. There's a couple different ways we look at height downtown. One has to do with zoning. This is the central business district. There is no height no height limitation in the central business district. So that's one way to look at it. It's also partially within a historic district. In the historic district, there are administrative rules that are set forth in state law that establish several criteria related to what is compatible new construction in a historic district. And there's many of those criteria, and height happens to be one of them. Within that criteria, it states that the height of new construction should not exceed a 10% variance of the average heights of historic buildings next to it. So in this case, those rules would suggest that a structure should be no taller than about 53 feet on this particular location. But it's important to note that this lot is only partially located within a historic district and is just one of many things that the commission members looked at and discussed and evaluated in vetting the compatibility of this project. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so just say it outright. We don't have to just keep it to 10 stories.
Since it exceeds that amount that's would be recommended by that standard in state law, it means that the State Historic Preservation Office calls this an adverse effect, and it requires that the City Council to act on it. It's process-based, and so that's why it's in front of you today. And the Commission, in the 3 times they reviewed it, have given feedback and comments, and the Lloyd Companies has incorporated that, and the Historic Preservation Commission is recommending that it be approved.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Just one comment from me on this project. I do think it'll be a game changer for downtown No question about it. It's not a Taj Mahal. It doesn't have every bell and whistle that we ever hoped for, but it's going to change our entire concept of what our downtown can be. And so I'm very much in favor of this project. I've seen the plans. They're great, and I'm just saying go forth and create this wonderful resource for our downtown. So thank you, and I yield.
Okay, the motion on the floor for item 32 is for approval. All in favor of approvals, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Okay, motion passes 9-1. Thank you. On to item 33, authorize Mayor and Finance Director to sign development agreement between the City of Rapid City and C.R. Lloyd Associates for the development of a mixed-use project and for the payment of funds from the revenue generated by tax increment financing District 85. Motion to approve by Lehman, second by Roberts for approval. Richie Nordstrom.
Again, thank you, Mayor, for this opportunity to talk about this subject, because I really believe it's a worthwhile project for the City of Rapid City and also for downtown. One other thing that we will have to take a look at, and I'm sure we'll get some feedback on this, is the opportunity to have a quiet zone for this area. So I really look forward to having the process move forward on this tax increment financing district. I sat in on the TIF committee at the beginning, and one of the things that really brought up to my mind was making sure all the boxes we could check could be checked, and I think we've got that accomplished. So I want to thank the Lloyd company, and I think Sarah was the lead charge on this reviewing of the TIF process, and so about the only thing we got left to do is figure out what we can do for a quiet zone. Thank you, Mayor. I yield.
Darla Drew.
Thank you. I think I'd like to direct this question to City Attorney Joel Landine, please.
Okay.
Joel, I think I have this right here, the development agreement and the developer's default section. Looking at, let's see here. Section C, failure by a developer to commence construction of the project in accordance with Section 3.01 and Section 4.01 on or prior to July 1st, 2023. Does this mean they can back out before July 1st, 2023, or they have to have something signed? I don't exactly understand that, but that's more than a year away. It gives me pause.
Thank you, Mayor. The provision in there is for them to commence construction. It allows us to terminate the agreement if they haven't commenced construction by that date. I think the belief is that if this is approved tonight, absent some unforeseen circumstance, they will likely be under construction sometime June or July or August of this year. So I think we'll start construction this year. I did write in July of next year because if something unforeseen does happen, it doesn't require us then to bring back all the agreements. But if the project, if we were to revoke it before the project started, then there's provisions in there for us to, for the property to revert back to the city. So, you know, the main concern was that prior to construction starting, that if the project fell through, that we would get the property back. After construction starts, we still have an interest in it, but the financial, the banks, their interest in the property would supersede our interests. And at that point, if they're under construction, the goal would be to get the building constructed and then sort it out. After the building is completed and the certificates of occupancy are issued for the hotel and the residential component, then the reversionary clause ends. So again, that provision you were referring to is just a tool for us if the project isn't proceeding. I think we'll know by July of next year for sure. Then we have the ability to terminate this agreement and do something else with the property.
Okay, could I direct a question to Jake Quasti, please?
Yes.
Jake, with that date in mind, when do you plan to start construction?
So our goal is to start construction by July of this year. There's a lot of things that coming from here, we got to get through various final approvals on the plans, permits, get everything in place from that perspective. You know, a date like that could just have this contract go away. That was actually the subject of quite a bit of conversation with Joel and his team to make sure we had something that made sense. Obviously, it's been, when we were awarded this project, we were hoping to have already been in the ground, and it's been a really weird couple of years here, but that probably drives why we're looking to have the next 15 months or so to make sure. But I mean, at inflation of 7 to 12% annually in costs, and that's being pretty conservative, we want to get it going sooner rather than later.
I would agree with that, and I mean, this project has been, you know, latent for so long that I would just really like to see it get going, and I was so happy to be a part of voting for this and making this go forward. So when I saw that date, it kind of gave me a little bit of a hiccup there. So thank you for your answers, gentlemen, and I yield.
Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question would be for Director Fisher and Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Vicki Fisher.
Currently, what is the assessed value on the property?
This is owned by the city, so there is no assessed value of the property.
So it collects zero tax.
Correct.
When the building's built, what will the assessed value
I will
approximately?
defer to Sarah if you don't mind.
Sarah Hansel coming back to the podium.
They're estimating 42 million at full build out.
42 million, so 0 to 42 million. Seems like a pretty good investment. And the reason I bring that up, I've been on the council on and off, and I had a hiatus in between when I think that this project came back up again, and Lloyd Companies was looked at to do the project. And since then, Lloyd Company, per se, has planted themselves in the community. They've got other projects that are going that are very substantial. They're bringing a lot of housing to the community. They've got jobs that they're bringing to the community. And just so happened on last Wednesday, the question was brought up of, okay, what is your social responsibility to the community? And it just so happened that last Wednesday was, I think it was their 50-year anniversary that they had. They were presenting a check to One Heart for $1,972 to represent 1972 when they went into business. Yeah, in all world of, and I appreciate Alderman Evans' perspective on Rapid City as a growing community, and without those perspectives, sometimes we don't get anything beyond a basic platform. So I get that position, and moving forward, I'm hoping that this will help spur some of that on in the future with bringing more viability to what we can put into a building, or what happens in Rapid City with the arts communities, those types of things. So I appreciate Lloyd Companies and what they're doing here, and I just, after being here and watching this, I think it's been over 10, maybe 15 years since the initial beginning of this. That piece of property does also hold a lot of obstacles. You know, I've had people ask me about underground parking and those things. They're just not viable on that piece of property because of the geotechnical things that Lloyd Company had come across, or I think maybe even had come across before that when other people looked at it. So I'm looking forward, as Alderman Drew says, I'm looking forward to seeing this building. So when I go over to the Silver Spoon to eat breakfast, I can watch the building go up, and then I can watch people move in, and I can watch people come and go, because the real viability of that's going to be bringing people in and out of there with the hotel. Bringing people to spend their money here, they leave their money, they kind of like fly in, and they don't take a lot of our resources, but they can leave behind their money, and that's something that was important to the downtown community. So again, I thank you guys, and I appreciate you. You know, I know there's other parts of your social responsibility that you got into, that things that you do in the community. I didn't know all of those, so I won't go into that, but I appreciate that. And thank you, and have a good evening.
Okay, the motion on item 33 is for approval. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion passes 9-1. Item 34, authorize Mayor and Finance Director to sign a real estate transfer agreement between the City of Rapid City, the Rapid City Economic Development Foundation, and C.R. Lloyd Associates. And first of all, I think I'd like to go to Joel Landine, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. For those of you who didn't see the email this afternoon, I did update the documents, and there were no substantive changes. The reason they were changed is that Tom Johnson from Elevate requested that the agreement be with Elevate rather than with the Economic Development Foundation. The Economic Development Foundation is under Elevate, and my understanding is they're wrapping that up as a separate entity, so they requested that, and it still works legally, so I honored that request and updated the agreements.
Okay, thank you. A motion to approve by Lehman and a second by Nordstrom. We'll go to Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I was superintendent of schools at a town south of Sioux Falls for several years, many years ago, it seems like now, and I got to know a little bit about the Lloyd Company in Sioux Falls and what they did, and I have zero concern about the quality job that they will do with this project. They did great work in Sioux Falls. They did basic, low-cost projects and some very upscale projects and all points in between. So I can totally support and be comfortable with the fact that I think they're going to do a good job. In the philosophical realm, I am in full agreement with Councilman Evans that I don't know if it's the right thing to do right now to give that lot away for free. Yes, I know we will get tremendous tax benefit from it and all that, and I voted for a lot of TIFs. So my philosophical concern, Mr. Kwasny and your group, is not towards Lloyd at all. Okay, so please understand that. Last thing I need is be in trouble with Kwasnys. My whole life I've been in trouble with Kwasny, so I don't need more. But the land and property values and everything, and even though Ms. Fisher said that it's not appraised at anything right now, it still certainly has value. It has tremendous value. And I think this project is a good thing to do, but I'm just a little uncomfortable, kind of like sitting on a thumbtack, that this land, this tremendous piece of land that would have tremendous value, is being given away for a project to take place. I agree with TIFs. I voted for a lot of them, and I think this is good. But I just have to agree with Councilman Evans on this point, that giving it away, I don't know, is our wisest move at this point in time. That's where I'm at on it. Thank you.
Bill Evans.
Well, I'm a liar. I'm going to say one more thing. Like Mr. Jones says, the value as it is now is important to know. I know when I arranged to have a large organ donated to Stevens High School, it's one of the largest in high school in the country, the hoops I had to jump through in terms of getting that thing appraised and everything so that we could accept it, even as a school district, a nonprofit, were huge. Now this is working the other way. We're going from public property to private enterprise, and as far as I'm concerned, I just think it's negligent for us not to know what that piece of land is worth right now. Now, I think it's an invalid question to ask, well, what's going to be worth after it's already built? That's like saying, well, what's that worth, that empty parking place, or what's it worth now that somebody parked the Ferrari in it? That doesn't make any sense. We got to know what that parking place is worth and the land under it. So I think we should get this appraised professionally so we know what we're giving away and we document it. And that's what I would suggest we do. Thank you.
Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This kind of reminds me of playing cards with my in-laws. Get partway through the game, and then we're going to try to change the rules. It's just not in the cards tonight, guys. This project was set out several years ago with this in mind. This project cash flows with that land being given to this project. It's always been in the project that way. It's never been any other way except that. I really don't want to travel down that road. If we want to, I guess, then let's just tell these guys to take a hike. But this is as close as we've got to getting this project done. I'm not ready to change the rules in the middle of the game, and when they do that to me, I get up from the card table, I'm gone. So, thank you.
Richie Nordstrom. Nope. Are you out?
Somebody cancel me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. The issue right now in front of us is the value of the property that we have right now in the city possession. A question for Director Fisher, if I may.
Yes, please.
Ms. Fisher, we've had that property, shall I say, assessed by the Department of Equalization at the county. Am I saying that correctly? Or is it Sarah knows the answer to that? The Department of Equalization has given us a number or not?
Ms. Mayor, they have not given us that number. If that's a number that they've given to Lloyd's, then perhaps they would like to share it.
Because as I understand it, sorry guys to catch you off guard on this, because this issue has been before us, and I think with the answer that we've had before is the assessment really has been zero from because the city owns it right now, and we have a potential of going to $42 million. So. Am I saying something incorrect, that the assessor has said that it belongs to the city and it's basically $0, that the value of that property? Am I saying that correctly?
Are you asking someone this question?
Yeah, initially to Director Fisher.
So the assessed value today is zero. There has been discussion about comparable real estate in the area and what it assesses out, and there has been discussion in some of the Planning Commission meetings, and I believe in the TIF committee meeting, that if this were owned by someone other than the city, looking at what others have paid for comparable land in the area, this would be an estimate of what they would pay for it. But I don't believe that the assessors or anyone has done an appraisal of this site.
I think that's my point, is that we know the value of it right now today, because it is a city property. So I hope I'm not saying something out of line here, but essentially that's the number we have to work with. That's the dollar amount we have to work with. So I don't get this value of the property just because it's sitting there. So I don't get that. If there's any other comments, I'll gladly listen. Jake, any additional comments?
Anytime you're talking about something like this, it's a complex thing that if you break it down point by point, it gets complicated. But if you want a valuation on this property, it's pretty easy to say downtown property is worth $25 to $30 a foot. But when we came at this, the city and the group that was putting the project together asked us to look at the available incentives, TIFs, vision funds, the land, and figure out a way to make the project work. And there were some things they asked us to look at, hospitality among them, a number of different components that we were really encouraged to pursue. We were encouraged to pursue a taller building, to look at how we could provide some excess parking outside of just what would service our residents and our hotel guests. Some of those components that came into this project, that really drove the global package. So it's easy to zero in on that $0 or $1, the nominal consideration. But if we were paying the full value, I'd be in here asking you for a $10+ million TIF it's really a matter of how we got there in negotiation of some things that worked as vision funds weren't. We kind of had a number of different conversations along the way to end up at this point. I think your team did a fantastic job, and I really appreciate, the feedback to get here. When we look at public incentives, we don't want to be viewed as having gone to get something that was, not warranted or not needed. These numbers are necessary to make this project happen. My hope is the 10% inflation we've seen since we asked for it makes that it's still enough. But I do believe it is as of today, as we sit here and we continue this process. But you've got a valuable piece of property.
Jake, sorry to interrupt. My time has run out, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands this is a transfer of property to Elevate first, and that seems to be a missing component in our conversation. So my time is up, so thank you for your input, Jake. Thank you.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Jake, and thank you for your team for bringing this forward. And I think one of the things we need to remember is you didn't reach out to us, we reached out to you. We put together this incentive package, kind of the same one many years ago, and this kind of reminds me of what happened with President's Plaza and how the council wanted to start taking over that too, and it didn't end up going to fruition. This is a good project. We need this project. Rapid City has needed this project for a decade. We need to help vitalize downtown Rapid City. We need to show people that Rapid City is actually growing everywhere, not just on the outskirts of town, not just in our retail areas, but also our downtown is moving forward. So I'm very excited about this project, you can tell from my face. And this is a very, very valuable piece of property, but that's part of an incentive package. We want you to build on the best piece of property in Rapid City, and that's what makes this work. If we offered them a piece of property, who knows where, next to the landfill, they probably wouldn't do this property. We have to offer them something that makes this work for them, makes this work for us, and it's going to pay for itself many, 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 many times over in the future. So I'm very excited about it. I was excited about the last one. This one, though, is going to work. So thank you very much.
Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very quickly, when I first got on council, Dan Seffner said that block had been empty for 40 years. And I said, well, I think we can get something done on that. And he said, I'll believe it when I can see it. And so I think tonight, my guess is it'll be a 9-1 vote that we'll see it. I'm excited to vote for it. Thank you.
Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real correctly, shortly, the reason that TIFs ever came to fruition in the state of South Dakota was simply for projects just like this. So keep that in mind. The other thing that's in mind is that this project, when it was originally submitted, it was submitted as giving the land. Also, there was boot that was to go along with it. I think it was up to like $2 million. That doesn't exist anymore because of pulling the plug on a project in the midstream of somebody having hundreds of thousands of dollars into the design stage of the project. So that part of that is gone. So they won't be receiving that. So just wanted to let everybody be clear on that. Thank you.
Okay, the motion on the floor for item 34 is for approval. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Okay, motion passes 9-1. Now on to public hearing items 35 through 41. There are no speaker requests on these items, so we'll go to consent public hearing items 35 through 40. Would the council have a motion? Second. We have a motion by Lehman and a second by Roberts to approve the consent public hearing items 35 through 40. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Non-consent public hearing items, item 41. Approve resolution number 2022-009, a resolution creating the Block 5 Project Tax Increment Financing District number 85, and approve resolution number 2022-010, a resolution approving the project plan for the Block 5 Project Tax Increment Financing District number 85. Okay, Pat Jones made the motion. And a second? Second, Lance Lehman. Okay. All in favor of approval of item 41, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion passes 9-1. And now that the voting on all of this is done, I just want to add my 2 cents in here. Tonight, I'm proud of the City Council. This has been a long journey. Some of these very council members were here during that uncomfortable period with President's Plaza. And all of the ups and downs, mostly downs, with that whole project. And then the dissolving of that project and all of that. And in early 2016, we had a council meeting where the council agreed the next time we take up a development on a city lot like in this Block 5, we're going to stay out of it until it's time for us to vote, until it's time for us. There was interference, there was a lot of things, a lot of input given, a lot of probably mistakes made, and that was a painful time for us. So the project did get a slow start. We experienced the pandemic, 2020 and 2021. That set things back here with the planning of the project. And now we are here, and it's go time, and we're getting positive votes from the council and overwhelming support for this project. I know this is just a matter of semantics and that there's differing opinions on this, but I don't believe we're giving this lot away. I believe that we've invested with this lot. We've purchased influence in what goes on that very important lot downtown. The type and the scope of the project, the quality of the project, that's been in part our influence in this financial incentive package that makes Lloyd Companies a partner with the City of Rapid City, and I believe does the best for the citizens of Rapid City and for our region. This new building, this new development, I believe, will be seen in the future as the cornerstone of the new downtown Rapid City. And great things are set to happen. And this is going to be a significant point in time for Rapid City. So just once again, thank you to the council. Thank you for the vision, the trust, the patience to get us here. And now I'd like for all the Lloyd Companies people to go get the shovels and get to work. All right. Next on the agenda, we have an executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2, subsection 1, to discuss qualifications, competence, performance, character, or fitness of any public officer or employee. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? Motion by Solomon, second by Nordstrom. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're in executive session. We have a motion to come out of executive session by Laura Armstrong, second by Lance Lehman and Bill Evans. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, any action required from executive session? No. Bill list is next on the agenda, item 42, and we'll go to Finance Director Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are no additions to the bill list, so the total is that which is attached at $7,870,641.71.
Okay, motion to approve Solomon, second by Jones. All in favor? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Well, you know, we dealt with it right away. Helping us solve that.
All right, motion to adjourn, Lehman. Second, Stroman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.